Shanahan set up shop in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
He's down to San Francisco. The Falcons kind of might have, I don't know, an entirely different look, certainly an entirely different feel next season. That being said, how long is it going to take them to recover? We talked about this a little bit on our podcast, which was fire this week, and you guys should definitely download it over there on iTunes. But we talked about the idea that this might never leave them, Nate.
Well, you look at recent years, and we can only go as recent as last year. The Carolina Panthers, and some would say they got better. I know they lost Josh Norman, but they also, added Kelvin Benjamin. There was some injuries, and Kuechly wasn't there all year. But they never recovered. They never bounced back. And they were one of the most exciting teams we've seen in quite some time. Really similar to this year. And I would say that last year, 2015 season, the Carolina Panthers captivated us quicker and held our attention longer, and we wanted to tune in more often. We joke about it on this show that the Atlanta Falcons was like that Southern girlfriend that we haven't met yet, that we keep hearing about.
Sure.
So I say all that to say this: it's going to be tough for them to get back. To lose like they did, it's either going to do one or two things. It's going to motivate them in a way that they get even better, which I would love to see, because that'd be great for the league and great for Atlanta, or it really just takes them into a completely different direction, and they don't reach the playoffs at all. And that's possible.
Well, so you just straddled it pretty. You said it could either make them better or this. So be honest with me. You lose by 25 points. To me, it's impossible to get back to that
Nate,
spot.
that girlfriend, she left us standing at the altar. She was the runaway bride at the last second. It was brutal.
But one of the things that I respect most about NFL players is their ability
to shut it off.
I don't know how they do it. You guys do. We heard Julian Edelman talk about it yesterday right here on the show. The 6-second rule. Just forget about it. Look to the next play. Is that possible?
It's possible. Do I think it's going to happen? And this is early. It's a week after the Super Bowl. I don't want to make any predictions, but I guess this is what we do. I'd say the odds are that they won't make the playoffs.
You're right,
they won't be as good as before. And, I don't want to sound insensitive, so I need to make sure that people out there hear me. We talked about this on the podcast, where we can be a little bit more loose in how we, kind of phrase things. I compared it to a loss. And I said this before on TV, and people hit me up on Twitter and say, how can you compare football and losing games to a loss in a family or a death?
Nah, Nate, we know what you mean.
But it's that type of emotional, down feeling that you have, and it takes a while for people to get over that. It's not that they lost, it's how they lost. Being up 28-3 and having that type of win being ripped out of your hands, seeing the lifeless season just fall after halftime, and then you think about Kyle Shanahan being gone. It's not about another guy coming in and running the system. We talked about it all year, and we saw Kyle Shanahan and Matt Ryan talk together, and one thing they said was, we know how to think like each other. We finish each other's sentences.
Now they're broken up.
A new coach comes in. It takes a while for you to get that type of chemistry, KB.
We talk all the time about the Super Bowl hangover for the team that loses. I mean, can you imagine coming off of that loss? That is the hangover. They're drinking one of those mind erasers with the straw at the bottom.
The straws.
That is a brutal hangover, and they're in the wrong division.
Mind erasers.
It's brutal. That is an awful, awful division to be in. That NFC South, only division where in the last 10 years, all 4 teams have won it. Every team's been in the Super Bowl since the realignment. I also don't like that they didn't have that cataclysmic injury this year. Like, they didn't have the Gronk injury. Lost Julio for a couple games. Alex Mack banged up Marcus Trufant. Okay, it's not like Matt Ryan went down or Freeman. They didn't have that horrible injury you tend to have. So the odds that they're going to have next year, injury-free for a whole season, and then Jameis is coming and Breeze is coming. It's brutal. And I feel like that window, it's like the peephole on the door you look through.
You're Schrager-facing. You're saying that you don't think that they'll ever get back. Did you really say that?
I think they could get back, but I do think that this is a bigger hill than what the Panthers faced. The Panthers lost Super Bowl, and that was fine. And, okay, let's get back to it.
MVP quarterback.
Everything was good for the Panthers, and then they just got outplayed. This one, I don't know if the Patriots necessarily beat the Falcons if the Falcons heads. I think the Falcons feel like we lost the Super Bowl. The Broncos beat the Panthers. I think if I'm a Falcon player and it's 28-3, I'm looking at my coaching staff. How'd you let this happen to me? Looking at my quarterback. How did this happen? I'm looking at my offensive line, looking at everything.
You're looking in the mirror as well.
And then at some point, I'm looking in the mirror. And I go back to the Rams back in 2001. They played the Patriots. They were 17-point favorites. The Patriots win. Following year, after a 14-2 season, they went 7-9 and lost their first 5 games.
They were 0-5 the next year?
First 5 games. Kurt Warner gets benched, and they go in and they put Mark Bulger in. But look, this is an incredible mountain to try to climb. And Sark played coached 1 year in pros. I don't know where Sark is coming from here. That's an odd hire. I think Kyle Shanahan was the greatest offensive coordinator we've seen in years this season. And to just assume that Steve Sarkisian, who's had his off-the-field issues also, guys, drank issues at
going to
USC.
come in seamlessly.
It's going to come in and just pick it up and let's go. Like, he's got to adjust his
call
life.
it perfectly.
It's a big uphill climb. And I don't know. I think anyone thinking that the Falcons are just going to be...
It doesn't happen that way, especially with the change.
It's very situational. And then you look at Matt Ryan, he said it plenty of times. When I knew I was in a situation, I knew what Kyle Shanahan was going to call. Will he be on the same page as Sark like that? No, not right out the gate. It's impossible for a stranger to come in and you to think the same way. It's a big loss. Kyle Shanahan is like losing one of your star players. So they're going to have to bounce back from that. And I think that right there is the toughest hill to climb.